Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. Welcome back to another episode of the Chelsea Fan TV preview show, the CFTV preview show with myself and Kev. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Obviously, we've had a little international break. To be honest, I haven't watched any of the England games. I haven't watched any international football. I saw a trick from Madueke, which was going around on Instagram, and I saw that Connor Palmer did all right for England as well. But I mean, that doesn't really say much, other than the fact that I will stand by this. Southgate needs to go, Kev. I mean,
Oh my life!
he's,
It's just
I actually supported him, but now it's got to the stage where you've played two World
yeah,
Cups, and I think after the most recent one, that was when it was over. Before that, I was Southgateing because I generally think he did a good job. But no. I think as well when you
mate,
look at the form Sterling was getting into, how did he not make it into the squad? So
it's favoritism. Favorites.
weird.
It's not even that as well. You got to think. Look at this. Look at the team that we've got. That team's probably one of the best teams in world football. Look at the quality of that team. We should be winning Euros and the World Cup. No ifs, buts, or maybes. There's no team close to that England team. And for us to be drawing against North Macedonia, not even Macedonia, North Macedonia, goes to show that he's well out of his depth. If put it like this, if you want to watch sideways and backwards football, watch England. And it's more like a rugby match than a football match. But yeah, let's stop talking about that crap now and talk about what's in store for Saturday.
Yeah, man. Let's talk about some positives. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
Newcastle away. It's always a big one, isn't it, Kev? I mean, there's a lot of good away days. We always look forward to European games usually because you get to travel. This season we don't have that, so it is basically like a European game because it's just such a long way away. I don't know how long
Yeah.
it is for you, but I think it's like a 5 hour train from where I am. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're staying over. We're going to go out after the game, regardless of the result, and hopefully it's just going to be a good time. I've never really been disappointed with Newcastle, even when we've lost. It always seems to have a good vibe in the city. But I mean, I'm feeling confident going into this one, Kev. I'm really, really feeling confident.
Yeah.
You sent me a screenshot, the other day with all of the injuries that they have, so we can address that at some point in the video. But it's not just the situation Newcastle are in; it's the situation we're in. So when people ask me about what I think is going to happen and score prediction going into a game. There's so many ways you can weigh it up. But for me, it's all about momentum and it's all about, where you're at and where you're expected to go as well. I mean, obviously, lots of different factors come into it. Newcastle are not in a great spot, mate. I'm looking at Eddie Howe, and for me, this month coming up, the month of December, I know we're not there just yet, but we're only a week or so away. I
Yeah.
think that Newcastle are going to really, really struggle. I said at the beginning of the season when I made my predictions, I thought Arsenal would drop points and I thought Newcastle would drop points. Now, I was probably incorrect with Arsenal thus far. Seems like Man United have taken their place. And they're still managing to get a few points, but I think they'll slip down as well. But yeah,
Mhm.
Newcastle have definitely struggled in recent times, which is completely understandable, irrespective of the injuries they've had because of the congestion, which, let's be honest, I don't think any squad that's never played European football before is ever going to be ready for that, especially when you've got a
Yeah.
manager who hasn't experienced it either. I mean, what do you think, Kev?
Well, I think up until all the injuries, they was doing pretty fine. I think there was the sixth in the league or seventh. Just I think league position below Villa. All the injuries have taken the toll, and obviously, Champions League football, it's a different ball game. You have to have two different squads basically. I don't think they've got massive squad depth. I think they've got a good first team, but the depth players aren't the best. They've got a few new players coming in. Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, but they're not Premier League winning players. They're just squad players. So what you're finding now is they've got 12 injuries, and it's taking its toll on the squad. So we could have played against Newcastle a better time for us. We've got Kuhn coming back, Lara potentially coming back as well. this is the best time to go up there and get some points, because it's been a long time since we've been there, got 3 points. I can't remember the last time we went there and won. It's looking 3-4
Mate,
years ago, probably.
yeah, it was when we had Tuchel. We
Yeah,
won
cool.
3-0. Reece James scored 2 bangers, and I think
Yeah,
Jorginho
yeah, yeah.
scored a penalty as well.
Oh, yeah.
I travelled up
Brilliant.
for that game. That was the first time I'd ever been there.
Yeah.
We had an absolute cracking night. It was Halloween as well.
Mm.
And mate, you know, times have just changed so much. That was honestly, it was a library. I'd never heard such a big stadium be so quiet. But I mean, at that point, they weren't even trying to play football. They had Steve Bruce as the gaff. Obviously, Mike Ashley was still there, and then you had St. Maximin, give the ball to him, and hopefully something can happen. But they never had the ball because they never even tried to play with it. So I mean, you know, from a neutral standpoint, you look at Newcastle, it's really, really good to see that, you know, such a passionate club. Because I will give the Geordies that they are a very passionate club, you know, who back their teams and been through some really hard times. It's nice to see that they've actually got something out of this. Because, mate, I don't want to see another club like Man City, you know, another club that, let's be honest, Man City, I fucking hate Man City. You know, they're not a real football club in my eyes. And I will debate this for a long time because, you know, people say that we came from money and that's when the success happened. We were winning trophies before we had money in the 90s. We beat Real Madrid to win the European Cup. You know, there was already a foundation. If it wasn't for how good we were in the first place, getting Champions League, Roman Abramovich would have never bought us. And then you've got Man City, who are a relegation team, you know, very, very small stadium. Nobody knew about them. Nobody knew who they were. And then they changed through. And Newcastle, for me, were a real club from the get-go. So, you know, I was actually quite happy to see that they got investment rather than another team. But yeah, I think it's just a bit of a stopgap. And I mean, I've had this conversation with a few people, Kev. For me, it's just happened a little bit too quickly, and they're almost a victim of their own success. You know, you get into Europe in your first full season as the head coach, like Eddie Howe does. I'm going to take my hat off to him. It was a fantastic achievement. But to then come from that and retain Champions League football and perform in Europe as well. And then you've got the domestic cup competitions on top of that. It's just a difficult ask. And you know, I'm not surprised that they're
Yeah.
struggling in Europe. And I'm not surprised they've had a
Mm.
little hurdle. It's interesting
But
what you say, Kev, because you say they've had a good start. Tottenham had a good start. Does that really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? You know, when I'm doing my season prediction, I'm not doing it up to
but
December.
yeah, but they're not doing too bad. If like I said, they're seventh for the league, I think.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah. I
they're
agree with you there, Kev. I'm
third.
not saying they're doing
They're
terribly. I'm
third.
just saying
Yeah.
that I think Newcastle will really, really struggle in the coming months.
Well, just depends on all the injuries, doesn't it? And you got to think as well. Yeah, you might say that, but you got to understand that the richest club in world football, we've got a transfer window coming up in a month's time. Don't think for 1 minute they won't splash a bit of cash. They've already been linked with a couple of high-rated players. So Ruben Neves being one, taking him from their club, their link club in Saudi Arabia, taking the Ruben Neves on loan. So the wall look to strengthen. So just depends on how the injuries go and the transfers for me. But if you're talking about a team that's overachieving, Newcastle are that team. They've come from nowhere. They're with third place in the group, probably the hardest group you can ever ask. PSG, Dortmund, and AC Milan in the group. The seventh place in the league, third place in the Champions League group. Still could finish second place. Battered PSG. They're not having a bad season. Okay. The results ain't gone the way the last few weeks, the last 2-0 against Bournemouth before the international break. But things like this can happen. We've seen ourselves with injuries. When you get a lot of injuries, it takes a knock on your squad. And when you got Champions League football as well, you got the midweek game, the weekend game. It's hard to find that rhythm, especially when you got key players out. Isak being one, he's their talisman for them at the minute. He's been out for the last few weeks. Bruno, Guimaraes, he's been out as well. So that's two of your key players out. So it's just like us having, who could we say now? It's like us having Enzo Fernandez and Jackson out. That would probably be a massive dip for us because they're the two players that, well, Jackson's shipping in. I'll probably say Sterling them. or when your key players are right, it's harder for you to find that form, and that's what's happening with Newcastle now.
Yeah. So you don't look at last season and to see that is the standard again. Then you just think that even in the state they're in, you still think they're overachieving. I mean, you said it yourself, Kev. They're the richest club in the world, and they've got all this money that they can spend in January. So you're telling me if they finish 7th, they should be happy with that?
Well, definitely.
What
In fact,
from a Newcastle perspective?
if Newcastle finish 7th place this league and go in the Europa League and have a run, that's a successful season for them. Considering they was on the brink of relegation only the season before last.
No, but
They've come
Kev,
a
this
lot
is a
better.
new era. I mean, we can't even think about relegation anymore. They've gone to Champions League football. That's the standard now. That's where they want to. I'm not talking about Chelsea. I'm just talking Newcastle right now. I mean, Chelsea's a whole different kettle of fish. That is an absolute must. That's chaos if we don't get Champions League football. I mean, in considering where we've been in past years. Now we do have a different ownership, which is why people are a little bit more patient. But actually, it's the opposite with Newcastle. If you see the way their fans reacted for the Bournemouth result, I mean, fans were having a go at Kieran Trippier. He came over. He said, "We're trying our best." And they don't care. At the end of the day, when you become a bigger club, like Newcastle are doing, it just sets a standard. So for
It's
me,
ridiculous.
I mean, I'm going straight into
That's embarrassing. That fan doing that. They
mate.
need to have a look at.
This is
They
the
need to have a look
situation.
at themselves. They need. You know what Newcastle need right now. They need humbling, and hopefully we go there. I don't know what they think they are, where they've come from. They was in the Championship only 3-4 years ago, so for them to be getting at the players like that when they're in the Champions League and the 7th place, they need humbling. They need to know where they are, who they are. Have we ever seen Newcastle win a cup in our whole lives? No, we haven't. They might have a big fan base, they might have a big ground, they might be a biggish club, but they're not a winning club. So they need to understand that there's levels to this. They should be absolutely appreciating what they're seeing right now. So for them to be shouting at Kieran Trippier players like that, I felt embarrassed for them. They need to pipe down and understand that they're the small Newcastle United. Not small, but they're not a winning club like they think they
In
are.
the grand scheme of things, yeah, when you put it like that, you're not
Yeah,
entirely wrong.
yeah.
Mate, I think it's going to work in our favour as well. I think that honeymoon period is over. It's over. It's done. And I really think Eddie Howe's going to be under a lot of pressure come December. Now, I'm just talking about congestion here, and we've always struggled in December ourselves, but I can see us kicking on. It's a new Chelsea. It's a new revitalised Chelsea. Let's get rid of that curse that we've had for God knows how long, when we start hitting form and then we just dip in December. Now it's the opposite. We had a little bit of a blip at the beginning, still playing good football and dropping points. Picked up the win against Spurs. Should have beat Man City if it wasn't for a terrible refereeing decision. Mate, I could not be more confident for this game. I'm saying straight off the back, I already said it with Charlie on the podcast the other day. 2-0. I see us going out. I want an early goal. I think an early goal is what's going to really impact this game, because as we were just talking about with the crowd, a year ago, maybe they'd still be supporting their team 1-0 down. But I don't see that. I am honestly seeing patterns over the past 2-3 weeks, right? So it's not a long period, but it's a period where they've had a little dip where fans are saying to the players, hang on a sec, you're not winning. What the hell's going on? And that never used to be the case. It used to be, listen, lads, you gave it a good go. You did the best that you can. We're proud of you regardless. And the standard has been set for a potentially toxic month. And I know I'm throwing around these big statements and saying all these things, but I said at the beginning of the season, I thought Newcastle would struggle. That doesn't mean they're going to get relegated, but that means that there was a standard there, and I don't think they're going to keep it, right? So for you to say 7th is a successful season, I don't think that Newcastle fans are looking at it that way. I really don't. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to shit on
And this is where they've got the blinkers on, mate, and they're absolutely delusional. Chelsea Football Club, massive Champions League winning club, all the trophies, all the success. 7th place for us is a successful season. So why shouldn't it be for Newcastle United?
Bro, I think they just want it all, and
Yeah,
I don't
they've
blame
got
them,
the
Kev. I
blinkers, they've
mean,
got
they've
the
got so
blinkers on,
much
mate.
money.
They're
Um,
just delusional, mate. They need to, like I said, I wish and I hope the next few weeks they get humbled and they get brought down a peg so they can understand that, they're not that massive club what they think they are. They've just come out of nowhere, you know. For them to be thinking they're going to get top four again this season, no chance. They're not going to get top four this season. Like you said, Champions League is going to take its toll. Look, I was just being realistic. If they finish in the top seven, speaking from the outside, even Newcastle fans, they should be thinking that's a successful season. Anything
yeah,
higher than that, that's a brilliant season.
I mean, let's talk about the injuries they've got. You sent me a WhatsApp the other day. Have you got it up, or do you want me to read them out?
I've got a list right in front of me right now. So, yep, they've got 12 players out as we speak. It's gone from 12 to 14. I think a couple of players just getting back. Obviously, they've got Toloni, who's out on that gambling ban
He's at the
for the
casino, mate.
season. He's probably he's going to be. We'll probably see him in the casino after the game. Sven Botman out with a knee injury, massive miss for them. He's been probably one of the best defenders over the last 12 months, let's say. Dan Burns out, so that's the centre back pairing
He's
out.
another key player.
So that's their centre back pairing out. So if we can't get in behind and make problems for that makeshift defence, Isak, Armorin, Callum Wilson, Harvey
Mate,
Barnes.
that's brilliant. That is brilliant news for us. See, I read this the other day. Does this not give you confidence, mate? We haven't even finished the list. Do you not feel more confident just knowing what they don't have? In the back of the fans' mind, they don't have all these players that perform so well. Like, I just want to make it crystal clear. If they had these players fit, I'm not saying what I'm saying now, right? I'm not being cocky and I'm being logical. We are on the up, and Kunku is back. Mudryk is available and in form. Sterling is available and in form. Jackson's available and in form. The midfield is starting to piece itself together. Gallagher, finally a run of games where it's clicking multiple times. He's creative. He's great defensively. Our back line is cushy, mate. Cucurella, I would keep him in the squad regardless of whether Chilwell comes back, regardless of whether Ian Maatson wants minutes. He's definitely not getting them at left back. That's something. And then you've got a great back line with Silva. I mean, Colwell for me is a great player. He's going to get benched. I think Disassi starts again. And then you've got Reece
Mate,
James. You've got Reece
we've got
James, mate.
we've got
Fantastic.
this is our biggest chance to get the win. And like
Bro.
he says, put it like this, they've got the defensive partnership out and their main goal scorers out. Wilson, Isak out. So that's their main goal threats out. Midfielders out. Bruno Jimenez, he's just coming back from international duty with results. So he's going to be knackered. Even Trippier pulled out of the England squad as well, so potentially he might be out. So that's three of your main defenders and your two strikers out. So if we can't go there and get the 3 points on Saturday, we're not serious, mate. We've got to break that duck. They've been our bogey team the last few years, Newcastle. They really have. Even before they got the money, it's always been a tough game. From when I was growing up, Newcastle United, it's always been a tough game. The fans get behind them, really aggressive. They basically got the 13th man just with that atmosphere. So it's a hard game. If we go there, get the early goal, silence the crowd, I think we could hit him for 2 or 3. I don't want to, get too confident, but that early goal could be pivotal for us to go on and, really
100%.
give him a.
I mean, Kev,
Yeah.
let's be honest. This is the other thing that we haven't even spoken. We haven't even spoken about the way that they're going to play. But we know Eddie Howe wants to play good football, right? So they're not going to park the bus at home. They just won't do it. And this is, again, where the standard that Newcastle fans are holding that team to, they will not allow the team to sit back at home. Again, it plays into our hands. So we can do the counter-attacking. I'm not saying we have to have all the possession. Now, do I think we're going to sit back? No. But do I also think we're going to be very, very conscious of the fact that we win the ball back in our own half and we can drive up with lots of space? I think that that's going to happen, just like it did against Man City. And I think there's going to be plenty of chances for players to come on. I mean,
Yeah.
this is such a pivotal game, and I am putting the pressure on. I say all the time, trust the process, and I'm absolutely going to trust the process, whatever happens. But this game is a must win. And I mean, I'm looking at all of the games that we've got coming up, mate. We've got to beat Newcastle. We've got to beat Brighton. We've got to beat Man United. The only game that I'm actually looking at and thinking, fuck me, we might lose, believe it or not, is Everton away,
Yeah.
because, they've had that
Yeah.
points deduction. They're a bogey team as well. So, I can actually understand if we drop points at Everton, which people will go, what? But Everton are one of the worst teams in the league. Doesn't work like that, right? In December, anything happens, everything happens, all right? Sometimes football isn't logical, so you have to actually think of it with a little bit of emotion to put logic into it. But yeah, man, I mean, let's look at the players as well. I mean, I've had a debate with a couple of people talking about Sterling and Mudryk. For me, I'm starting Mudryk. What about you?
Early, mate. 100%.
This
No
is going to
ifs,
be a
buts, or maybes. No, because Sterling. Look at Sterling doing against City. He's the best player on the pitch against City.
good.
So why would you drop him?
It's not a case of dropping Sterling, because I think Sterling's done a bad job. I just think that Mudryk deserves to start more. I think this game suits him perfectly. I think that he's going to be more fresh, more sharp, because he played
Fresh.
for Ukraine. And
He's
yeah,
gonna be more.
absolutely.
No,
Absolutely,
nice.
because
No.
absolutely, I think he's going to be sharp. I think he's going to be fresh. I think he's ready. And Sterling hasn't had game time during the international break. So for me, the
That's
one thing that
so
lets
so
Sterling,
so 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 you saying to me that Mudryk, who's travelled to Ukraine to over to that part of the world so far away, it's going to be probably landing back today or tomorrow. Then you got Sterling, who hasn't kicked a ball. So you got one player that's played 180 minutes and travelled, and a player that's not played any minutes. So you say Mudryk's going to be fresher? Is that what you said?
okay,
That's,
not fresh, then sharp. That's the word I'll use. Sharp. All right. Sharp and ready to play. For me, the one thing that lets Sterling down, which you could argue also lets Mudryk down, but I think that's a managerial issue, not his issue, is consistency week in, week out. And don't get me wrong, Sterling was great against Spurs and he was great against City, but we've had a pretty decent break now. And for me, Mudryk deserves the chance. If you're going to keep starting Sterling ahead of Mudryk as a given, I don't see where you're going to develop Mudryk, because he's best on the left hand side. You could potentially compromise and put Sterling on the right, but then where do you play Palmer? Do you drop Gallagher? What happens with Jackson? So everything changes if you move Sterling. So it is just a straight competition between those two. Now, I agree with you, Kev. This is difficult. It's not an easy one for me, but just personal preference. I'm not reading too much into it. I just think that Mudryk is the best player to start specifically for this game. Let's also not forget the fact that we've talked about a low block here. So fixtures we've also got coming up. We've got United, we've got Everton, and we've got Brighton. So for me, against the smaller teams and the teams that are going to sit back a little bit more, then I would argue with you, and I'd say, you know what, actually, I would understand why Sterling starts in those games. He's played in the Man City team. It's literally the best team in world football at breaking down low blocks. He's experienced. He should know how to deal with that. Mudryk, counter-attacking king for me. The paciest player in the league, deserves the chance, Kev. So I'm not even saying that. I'm not even just looking at this game. I'm looking at future games as well.
I just felt, as much as I fully understand why you'd say Mudryk deserves to start. Yeah, because hasn't started many games, just for his confidence. But I just wouldn't see why Pochettino would not start Sterling,
Do you think that
especially
Mudryk looked good?
coming off the last couple of performances Sterling's had. It'd just be the stupid thing to do. What you need to do is just keep the same for the formula. We've just gone and scored 8 goals in a week prior to the international break. Just keep the same team. Keep the same team. Mudryk will get opportunities. We're coming into that busy period now. We've got FA Cup coming into action. We've got the League Cup coming up. We've got games where he's going to get it. For me, if Sterling needs to keep these performances up, and once Sterling starts performing, that's when Mudryk gets a goal. But coming off the back of them 2 performances, Sterling's got to start for me personally. He was the best player on the park in 2
I
games.
think that the point you're making, it kind of works on both sides, though. So I do get what you mean when you say Mudryk can start in other games. I'd say the same thing for Sterling for the exact same reason. So, I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, let's move on. Just what should we move on to? Fuck it, let's just stay on this one. I'll be. I
We've got
mean, is there anything else, Kev? That
predictions,
seems to be the main talk.
predictions, goal scorers. Finish off.
2-0 Chelsea, mate. Mudryk on the score sheet if he starts. I'm calling that. I'm confident, and I would also say potentially another Jackson goal, mate. Another Jackson goal and another Cole Palmer involvement, whether that's a goal or assist as well. So, I mean, the one thing we could say, Kev, sorry to interrupt, mate, is for me, this is the first time in over a year that I've looked at the team and I can just say, you know what, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with that. The fact that we're even having this debate about Sterling and Mudryk is a positive in itself.
It's competition and health competition. Two very, very good wingers. Very, very good wingers. And either way, either one of them could get a start and do a good job. But what I'm talking about, it's just it's hard to change a winning team for me personally. If your team is going to score 8 goals, it's unfortunate for Mudryk, but he knows now every minute he plays is pivotal. He's got to come on and he's got to turn up now. No more excuses. He can't be making bad passes. Can't be overhitting crosses like he has done previously. He's had nearly a year at Chelsea. He's playing in a team which he knows now. He's playing under the manager which has got a system. There's no more excuse. So even if he gets 10 minutes at the end of the game, he's got to come on and perform. And maybe he's doing himself justice for a start. But it's a good, like you said, yeah. It's health competition all around the team. And we've got Gallagher, who's got to be still fighting position now because Nkuku's got to be sniffing around. You've got Mudryk sniffing around on the right side with Palmer. Barola coming back fighting for that striker position. So there's competition all around the team now. Lavi's coming back, so that means Enzo's going to step his game up, and this is what it's all about. Once you've got competition in the team, everyone steps the game up. So it's looking good going into this Christmas period because anyone can get dropped now. If you have a bad performance, that's it. The next player gets this opportunity.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like it's pointless rotation either. Like with Potter last year, when Poch plays people, he actually plays them with a meaning. And another thing I like is that I don't feel like he brings players back too early. Like you look at Badia Shiel, he had a couple of minutes against Brighton. I think he played 60 minutes in the cup. He hasn't featured since then, but he's available. But you know, we're not forcing him back into it, which has obviously helped because we've got such great depth. But irrespective of that, he's showing that in order to get in the team, you really have to work hard.
This is what it is, and Posh deserves credit for that, sticking to a team. So for him to put Mudryk in over Raheem Sterling, he's not sticking to that philosophy of just play players on form, and if they're shit, drop them. And the Potter would just swap and change every game with meaningless decisions, and he wasn't making the right choices, and that's the reason why we was 13th place. Okay, we're 10th place now, but we can see patterns in the team. We can see little bits of cohesion within the team play now. A little 1-2s here and Jackson linking up. It's getting better and better. I mean, that's because he's sticking to the same team. There's no need to change it.
Yeah, man. What's your prediction going into it then? I said 2-0.
Ooh. 1-0 Chelsea.
I thought you just said we were going to smash them and you were confident. Come on,
Yeah,
Kev.
yeah. I'm confident. There's 2 parts of me. The one that's going to smash them, and there's the humble Kev. The humble Kev, what's not going to get carried away. 1-0 still a win at St James's Park, and that's a good thing. So 1-0 Chelsea. I'll take that one.
All right, Kev. All right. Well, listen, mate, always a pleasure. And guys, if you've been watching for the whole episode, thank you for staying tuned in. If you agree or disagree with anything that me or Kev has said, just let us know in the comments. It's always nice to hear what you have to say. If you haven't already, leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel. All right, we're going for 250. We've hit 200k, so we're going for 250. As always, guys, thank you very much. Like, subscribe to the channel, and up the Chelsea.